when you have a history of greatness, the real challenge starts after the finish line.
I can taste triumph with the heart of a lion.
When victory alone isn't enough, you chase something greater, no matter how difficult the path, on the dirt, in the sand, and beyond. The new 2024 Ridgeline, Passport, and Pilot, part of our most rugged trail sport lineup yet. From Honda.
Hey everybody, welcome into Going Public. I am Harry McCullough. This week we'll talk about the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District with the Executive Director Angela Hidalgo and Project Manager Trey Middleton. So guys, thanks so much for being with us. We 2 weeks after a storm, and I guess the lead story was that we had record storm surge that came in because of the angle and where the storm was. But the benefit is you guys did great. I mean, 0 houses flooded.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. This was the highest storm surge we ever recorded. And, you know, at the end of the day, the levees performed well. They did their job. And that's why we're able to have a successful conversation with you today instead of a much different one.
Yeah, no doubt. Why is that a record? That seemed like a small storm. It wasn't big in area. It wasn't that intense. Why was that a record?
Well, I think it's just it made its landfall on the worst possible track for us. So we've always planned for landfall to the west of Terrebonne is the worst case scenario. And this storm was a very strong Category 2, and it brought with it a lot of storm surge. So, yeah.
But the angle too, right?
For
Normally,
sure.
I guess they'd be coming from Florida, like Andrew. And
right.
So some of those other ones that came that way. But this one came from Texas,
the west, yeah.
Which you normally don't see in actually the way it came up. But yeah, that's scary when you think about that's a record. So, but the positive thing is that the 0 houses flooded. So
right.
When you compare that, and what we're going to do is, you guys brought some slides and you look at what's prior to the storm. We'll look at happened during the storm and now how you're dealing with it. But when you look at where we were years ago now, I guess we were talking about the insurance commissioner too is going to come down and visit. Now you can say, hey, we had the highest storm surge we've ever had, 0 houses flooded. Right.
And we've saved, I mean, our taxpayers have saved the federal government millions upon millions of dollars of not having to make FEMA claims. So at the end of the day, we want everyone to recognize that, and we deserve some type of break on our insurance.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, we've proven that we can handle it, and we've done a tremendous job, you know, from our delegations, you know, state and our local and our federal delegation have gotten us so much money, and we've been good stewards of that money, and it paid off.
Yeah.
So we deserve to be recognized for that.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, I mean, we got an election coming up. A lot of people may be worried about abortion or illegal immigrants. We're worried about flood insurance.
Right.
That's our number one issue down here. And look, we've done our part, you know, and we deserve something. So it's good to see that Tim Temple's going to be down here. He's going to have people with him from FEMA, and y'all going to show him around. Right?
Correct. Yep, that's right.
Okay. So Trey, from a project standpoint, as you look at post coverage, and y'all going to go over it a lot, but how did the structures all do?
Oh, the structures did great. No damage, no minimal like handrail, maybe some grading, some traffic arms by the roller gates. But structurally, all the structures did very well.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and yeah, because we're not done yet, right?
Right.
And there's one in the Gulf. So y'all want to start our presentation?
Sure. So in the beginning, when we started watching the storm, you know, we come on the show with you guys a lot, and we're kind of telling you what type of storm preparations we were making. And this presentation's fairly lengthy, but this is just an overall image of all the structures that we closed within 24 hours. So, you know, half of the structures were closed on the first day, with the remaining closed on the second day. And that's just an image of each gate and what it looks like in a closed position. So if you want to roll through, we did have some areas in Dularge and some more in Pointe-aux-Chenes that we hurried up and did some emergency dirt placement to gain some elevations so that we could protect that community while this levee's still in construction. So these 2 levees actually. So you can kind of see the dirt looks fresh. It's not really been there, you know, but 48 hours before the storm made landfall. So we were a little nervous, and we worked through the night As you can see there, our contractors did amazing, helping us achieve, some level of protection before landfall.
Actually, these emergency things, though, have been we can do work that would take years to do, right, during these emergencies?
Correct. After we declare a state of emergency, we've got the green light to go ahead and do emergency protective measures.
It's been an asset to you
It has
guys, though,
been.
right?
Yes, it has been.
And no, to get a lot of things. And then, like I say, when you see work being done in the middle of the night, it's pretty awesome to see that too.
Yeah, I would just want to give our credit to our contractors and our consultants who really did pull a lot of long hours to make sure these communities were protected. We really appreciate it. My board appreciates all that work, and we were able to protect those communities in a short time frame.
So our infrastructure, as we take a look now, as the Hurricane Francine landfall, it's a hardened infrastructure, right? We got pumps, we've got backup generators, those kind of things, which really help everything.
That's right. We have, pump stations, we've got floodgates, and we've got levees, all make up part of our system. And we're able to successfully operate and close that in a pretty remarkable amount of time.
Right.
Right.
And that's been like Kenner is one of the
Right.
issues, right? If they're not, you don't have backup generators, then it starts flooding all of a sudden. So the peak of the storms surge, and this was more of a Montague event?
So typically, the eastern side of our levee alignment sees the highest storm surge. This storm, although it made the worst dreaded track, we still saw those same type of elevations in the eastern side of the parish. So Montague, Pointe-aux-Chenes had the highest storm surge.
Yeah. So here's some more photos and tell us what we're looking at.
So this is the Bayou Terrebonne floodgate. One of our employees actually went out in the middle of the storm to take this picture. Don't recommend doing that, but he did it anyway. And now we have this wonderful picture to show you of Bayou Terrebonne and Montague and Humboldt Canal. Both of those structures are about 11 feet, and the water is right at the top of that. So our water gauge kind of topped out at 10 and a half feet. So by the debris line, though, we could tell we had about 11 and a half feet at that structure. This is the highest recorded storm surge levels at each of the gate. This is taken from our instrumentation that we collected, and it shows the different times a day and the highest level recorded at each station.
Yeah, so you can see that surge really came up. All right, so let's take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the more monitoring, some of the surge levels for sure. We'll be right back. We're going public right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Everybody, welcome back to Going Public. Harry McCullough here. We're talking with the Terrebonne Parish Levee and Conservation District, Angela Hidalgo, Trey Middleton. Thanks so much for being with us, guys. We were talking about the floodgate monitoring system and the highest recorded y'all had. We didn't have a whole lot of time to look at them, but let's take a look and tell me what this says.
So looking at this, we picked the 6 highest ones, floodgates, but, we talk about this floodgate monitoring system a lot. It gets us crucial information on when the surge starts, when it peaks, when it ends, and just gives us all kinds of information that we use moving forward to plan and prepare for other storms. But as you can see, the Bubba Dove saw about 8 foot of storm surge at its peak, which was the highest recorded at that structure. And then you go over to the Montague area where you got Humboldt Canal and Bayou Terrebonne, and they peaked out at about 10.3 feet, but that was because the gauge actually went underwater. So by the debris line, it was 11 and a half foot. And what we saw was, working kind of west to east here, Dularge, about 4.5 foot at its max peak surge, and that was on the backside of the storm, not as it was approaching. And then as you work your way over towards Montague, it ramped up to 11 and a half, and then Pointe-aux-Chenes was a little bit lower, and then when you went up to La Rose, In that area, it dropped down to about 6.5 feet. So Montague is typically the highest surge.
And that's coming from where? The water?
Yes.
Comes from Wonder Lake?
Wonder Lake, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So, yeah, that's interesting there. So the all-time hottest recorded, as you go back then, as we're looking at this, it's kind of hard to see, but once you walk us through it.
Well, that's what I was just explaining. It just kind of goes, not all the gauges have all the same sensors and everything, but that's just kind of what I explained, how it went from 4.5 to 11.5 and then trailed off a little bit at 6.5 on the west.
But when you
east
say
side.
all-time recorded storm, so what was the previous record? Not to act like it's scoring
9.
touchdowns, right?
Nine and a
feet.
half. Yeah.
And for what, Rita and
For Rita and for Barry.
Barry?
Yep.
They got that high as well. So, yeah, it's going to keep coming. So does this make you go, well, I guess as we'll talk about post-landfill assessment, now we got to continue to go? Is that what that means?
So this storm did two things. It shows us that our infrastructure worked. Okay. It also tells the tale that we're not nearly
done yet.
done because this was very close to the top of our structures and levees. And you'll see in the post-storm assessment slides, and Trey will talk about it some more, but you'll see debris lines right at the top of the levee. That means that levee needs to be built higher.
Yeah, so let's go there then as we talk about doing an autopsy of Hurricane Francine.
And again, so I know that's hard to read, but that's just a kind of an assessment that we put together immediately following the storm on the day after. Our consultants, ourselves, all got together and we went out and did aerial imagery, flew all of the levees to document that and get that information so that we could determine how much debris was out there, what magnitude of work was coming, and then what potential areas that we need to work on with scour. It's dirt, it's
Right.
stacked dirt. So when the wave action hits it, depending on the angle and how much waves hit it, it's going to erode some. So we had to look at that, especially being still in hurricane season, and be prepared for the next one.
And how often you have to do those inspections?
Immediately following every
And
storm.
then almost every day.
Right.
I mean, we were 17th Street Canal, right? And we were not looking and got caught there in New Orleans.
So Trey is our drone pilot. He was out flying, and I noticed one thing when we were out there. We went to Pointe-aux-Chenes and we went to Montague, and it's the day after a storm made landfall in our parish in the worst possible path it could have ever made, the one we dreaded the most. People could have cut their grass.
Right.
Boats were going to work the next day. I mean, that's amazing to me.
really was.
Because I thought that Thursday when we did assessments was going to be a terrible day, and it was not. It was a great day.
Yeah. Yeah, no. The infrastructure really held up well. So we have some pictures of the Dulorge levees.
Right. So again, we didn't see much of anything in Dularge, 4.5 foot, small amount of debris. Nothing
What a change in
bad
10
there.
years in Dulorge, by
Exactly.
the way.
Oh,
You know,
definitely.
what a change.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
high and dry. So these are the reach levees.
Right. So working towards the east, you could see Reach E. That's along Falgout Canal Road. You can see a little bit of a rack line, but it's well below the crown of the levee. And then
Which is a 15-foot levee.
which is yes.
Wow.
And then you're moving over to F. You can see that goes from the Bayou Grand Caillou floodgate to the Houma Nav floodgate. You can see a lot more debris there. And then this is where you start seeing from Dulac to Cocodrie, and from Montague to Pointe-aux-Chenes was the most debris that we saw. But you can see those are all 15-foot levees. There's quite a bit of debris, but you don't see anything on top of the levee in those areas.
Yeah, there's a lot of debris stacked up.
And then this is the H levees. So two of these levees are island levees, and only accessible. You can see the bottom left picture right there, which is H3. So immediately to the east of that is the bay. So it's all open water. So there is some scour there you can see. So that's one of the levee segments that we'll be working on repairing here in the next couple weeks. Right, and then the Reach I levees, that's going up into the Montague area. Again, some debris. That levee is currently under construction to 14, 15 feet. And you can see that the rack line is actually below the crown of the recently lifted section. And then the bottom right picture is the Bayou Terrebonne floodgate looking northward, and you can just see all the debris stacked up on there.
Okay, so we'll take another break here. We still have more pictures to go. We'll start off with Reach J when we get back. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Going Public right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Going Public. We're talking about the Terrebonne Levees and Conservation District with Angela Hidalgo and Trey Middleton. So we were headed towards the Reach J levees, right, Trey?
Yeah, right. So Reach J in the Montague area, and again, this was the
So this is where the highest water was.
right. This was the hot spot for storm surge. This is where we saw 11.5 feet of surge, as you can see in the top left picture right there. That's actually what we call the connection levee between Montague and Pornish. And you can see that there was some scour there. There's a lot of debris on top of the levee. That levee is at a 12, and we'll be working on some scour repairs for that levee and then looking to get that section elevated as well.
But we're not seeing, there's not a lot of boats or camps or that kind of, it's mostly just marsh grass and that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
Which is good, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt the levees quite as much. Although you can, actually looking at this one, looks like
Yeah, there are some not near what we saw for Ida.
Right.
But the teams have been out there. Most of the levees have been stripped and stockpiled, and then working with the debris contractor to get out there and get that stuff loaded up and get it hauled off.
All right. So yeah, it's Reach K and then his L.
Right, and then L is the levee that connects into the Golden Meadow ring levee system, and that levee is currently under
I was
construction.
going to say, is that the one y'all worked on recently?
Yes.
Yes.
On the
yeah.
emergency,
It-
right?
Yep.
It was in construction
Right.
when the storm hit, and you can see the debris and stuff on there right now. And the contractor's already been out there cleaning the debris and getting geared up to get back to work.
And they still hold pretty good, even though they don't have the grass and everything else that's on there?
Well, we were concerned. I mean, that was an area of concern, but it did better than we thought,
Yeah. So good to see. So yeah, this is, I guess, what I'd asked earlier, the historical storm surge then.
Yeah, so I had Trey put the slide together for us to talk about because I wanted you to see in the past when we had no elevation and no protection and we had a 9.5 foot storm surge, you can kind of see the damages that we had. And this is the year of the storm, and he went all the way back to Juan, which was great.
Yeah.
But we had, if you look in 1985, 1990s, even in the 2000s, we had hundreds of homes flood.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2005 was Hurricane Rita. We had 11,000 homes flood for that. That's when, and after Gustav and Ike, we had thousands of homes flood. Right. At that point, that was in 2008. That's when, we went out to the voters and we said, we need to have money. The money that's in the bank needs to be used to build our first lift of protection. So that's when we started to build it. Now, in 2019, Barry made landfall. We were not finished our first lift yet. That's why we go from thousands in 08 to 11 in 19, because we had some protection, just not to its final height yet. So
Yeah, it's 14 years.
that's right. And we were building and building and building.
Right.
And, we've saved so many homes
That's
from flooding.
incredible. I mean,
It really is.
14 years is a long time, but it's nothing compared to the work
That's
that's
right.
been done. Yeah.
And then, so when 2020, we had numerous tropical storms. If that's the year, we had like
Oh,
6 of them,
cones,
and
yeah.
and no homes flooded.
0.
And then you can see that produced the highest storm surge of 6.5 feet. And then in Ida in 2020, we had like interior water rise, not really necessarily a storm surge event, but no homes flooded. And now we are in 2024 with anywhere from 12 to 15 feet of protection, and we had no homes flood.
It's like, can we get a rebate on some of that?
Right. I think we deserve it.
I know. I mean, seriously, since 2005, going from 11,000 homes flooded for a similar type event.
Right.
And that would all been the same
sure.
numbers, right?
Yep, this conversation would be totally different if we wouldn't have what we have out there today.
Yeah. No, I mean, we obviously got whacked pretty good by Ida, and it's a different storm. We get the north wind there in Terrebonne Parish.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, some parts of the parish got it, but this makes the case, right?
It is.
And like I say, when Tim Temple brings people from FEMA, this is what you're going to be talking about. I'm sure.
This is what I want to showcase. I just want to knock their socks off when they come and see all the stuff that we've done. And I also want to remind everybody that just because we haven't flooded in a while doesn't mean we don't need to
Right.
keep working.
Right.
Because
we got to get to 15 feet.
don't
right?
forget, all the past that we've experienced and the damages that we went through, and we came very close this time. So I really want to keep that in everyone's mind, front and center. We have to keep pushing forward. We have to keep our federal money coming in and our state and local money coming in, and we need to continue to invest in our infrastructure.
Yeah. So the path to elevations at 15 feet levees. Tell me what is the path?
The path is to lift everything that's not to 15 feet to 15 feet. So all the highlighted segments there are not at 15 feet currently, and we are going to be working hard the next year or two to try to get everything lifted to 15 feet. So we've even we're going to try to apply for some creative financing to get it done, but we're going to get it done.
Does that change these directions that are coming? I know we've always been really more concerned with the eastern side, more so than the western side. Does that change your thinking, the way these storms are coming in?
Well, we have a levee section on the western side that has no protection at all. So that is actually in an emergency state right now. So we're building that. We're not going to stop. Every storm is different. Even though historically we focused on the eastern side, I think we need to focus on the whole alignment, tie it in to get complete protection, close off the 2 floodgates in the intracoastal so we really can achieve some type of, storm event.
And then you can tell FEMA, like, hey,
Right.
we're not flooding, but this is our entire system. The worst thing, not to be a hypocrite, but you could say, oh, we need all this. They lower the rates and then we all flood
Right.
from somewhere else.
Right.
Probably wouldn't be a great use either, So
Right.
yeah, you got to tie it in. So that's the next port, right? And to get a lock in the intracoastal too.
Yeah, we have 2 floodgates on the eastern and western side of the flanks of the alignment that'll tie us all in, and that'll provide a complete and closed system. So that's our goal.
And we don't have a timetable on that, right? Just
So
when we get the money.
the Corps working on it,
Yeah.
and we're pushing them to get it done faster. So
Right. Well, great update. And like I said, we hate storms, but this is the best possible news coming after Storm Zero floods.
that's correct.
Well, guys, thanks so much.
Thank
It's
you.
Trey
Thank you.
Middleton, Angela Hidalgo. That's Going Public. I'm Harry McCullough. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.